Hey everybody, welcome once again to Challenged Athletes Live. My name is Bob Babbitt. Our next guest, Paralympic gold and bronze medalist, Mr. Steve Serio. Steve, how you doing, bud?
Hey, Bob, I'm doing okay. Thanks for having me.
No problem. As we're heading towards 4th of July, I can only imagine what it was like in Rio being on the podium for getting the gold medal with the flag and the anthem and all the rest of that. Well, is that something you draw on when you think back to that moment?
I always get the question, what does it feel like to win a gold medal at a Paralympic Games? And I always tell people that it's not the game that I remember. It's not the bus ride over. It's the moment in which all 12 of us and our coaches behind us were standing on the podium. And I remember as our flag is being raised just a little bit higher than everybody else's, our anthem is playing. And I remember looking to my left and I'm looking to my right and just remember thinking, I'm so grateful to share this experience with a group of people that I truly love. And, when we talk about accomplishments, you never accomplish something as big as that by yourself. And that's what I remember. I remember sharing that moment with a group of 11 other teammates and a number of coaches and medical staff that I truly love. And I'm just so grateful to have shared that experience with them.
And I'm guessing that after 2012 in London, when you guys get the bronze, that the thought is, okay, we are committing that we're going to go back in 2016 because it's nice being on the podium, but we don't want to be looking up at anybody. We want to be at the top of the podium. What was that sort of a group think that, hey, this is where we're going?
Well, a core group of our team on Team USA have been together since 2008 in Beijing.
Yeah.
And during those games, we actually finished fourth.
I know.
And
yeah.
I remember feeling pretty low after those games. If you fast forward 4 years to London in 2012, like you mentioned, we won a bronze medal, which again, it wasn't the ultimate goal, but it was an important stepping stone moment for us. It was important to know that we belong on that podium. And as an athlete, no matter how hard you train, no matter the hours that you put in, you don't really know until you experience it. And like you said, that bronze medal finish in London definitely propelled us. It motivated us. We knew that we belonged on that stage in our sport, and it definitely propelled us to win gold in Rio.
So you were paralyzed when you were really an infant, correct? So your whole life has been in a wheelchair. Were there times where that was difficult for you as a kid growing up and being probably the only guy in a wheelchair?
Yeah, I was injured when I was 11 months old. I was born with a benign spinal tumor that went undiagnosed for the first 11 months of my life. And during that time, the tumor became infected and inflamed and crushed my spinal cord, resulting in the incomplete paralysis of my lower extremities. So like you said, I've been living with a disability all my life. I know no other way. And growing up, my entire world was about fitting in. It was about fitting into my able-bodied friends. I went to a public school system. I played able-bodied sports to the best of my abilities, but my entire life was don't let anyone know how different you are. Don't let anyone know that you need help. And it wasn't until I found adaptive sports, and more specifically wheelchair basketball, where I learned how empowering it is to be different, how empowering it is to use my disability to my advantage. And I remember my sophomore year of high school, right before I found wheelchair basketball, I just wanted to be with my friends. So I was the manager of the track team. I was the manager of the football team and the basketball team. And I just remember thinking, I don't belong on the sidelines. I need to find something that I can physically do and compete with and scratch that itch in my life. And when I found wheelchair basketball, not only did it provide that athletic fulfillment, but it showed me that when I embrace my differences and I embrace my disability, I can shatter any and all limitations anyone would ever try to place upon me. Wheelchair basketball has given me everything, and I'm so grateful to have found it.
And how old were you when you found wheelchair basketball?
I was about 15 years old. I found it toward the end of my sophomore year and early junior year in high school. So being injured really early in life, I was late to the game by any means. And that's my biggest regret in life, is not finding adaptive sports earlier. But I didn't know this world was never exposed to me, and I just never knew anything about it. But I'm grateful I found it.
So when you find it and then you start playing a little bit, when did you realize, you know what, I'm pretty good at this?
I remember sitting in a basketball wheelchair for the very first time, not knowing how to dribble in a wheelchair, not knowing how to shoot in a wheelchair. And I just told myself, I'm just going to go for it. I'm just going to go out and have fun. And I remember feeling free from the first time sitting in a basketball wheelchair, like it was a part of me from the very beginning. And I just think that I was never overly talented. I just worked hard and I loved to play. And I never had aspirations of winning gold medals. I never had aspirations of being on Team USA when I first started. I just did it because I loved it. And, as I progressed in my career and I went to college to play, that's when it started to become a bigger part of my life. But it wasn't that way from the very beginning. In the beginning, it was just about something that I could do to have fun, something that I could do to open up this new world to me and meet people with similar experiences that I had.
I bet at one point, all of a sudden you're finding out that, wait a second, if I'm part of this Team USA thing, we travel and we go to different parts of the world, right? When did that hit you that I'm basically a professional athlete, right? We're traveling the world. I'm wearing uniforms with all these other guys.
Yeah, I'm a kid who grew up in a Long Island bubble. We never really traveled anywhere past Midtown in New York City. So yes, a brand new world opened up to me. We had a local travel team that went to, closer cities in the Northeast region, like to Boston or Philadelphia. But I remember making my first under-19 team for Team USA, and we traveled to Sydney. And that was the first time I ever left the country. That was the first time I ever was on a plane that took longer than 2 hours. I was not ready for that world. But I took a leap of faith, and I'm so happy I did it, and I haven't looked back since.
So when you've traveled the world, I remember going to Rio and being with a wheelchair-bound person, and just, when you're in the States, there's cutouts at the sidewalks. I mean, not everywhere, but the majority of places are pretty accessible. Being in Rio, I'm walking around going, oh my God, these are like ski hills going down the ramps into these brick streets, and everything's cobbles. And when you've traveled the world, what have you found in terms of accessibility?
Well, I've gone to different parts of the world that have very different, like very similar experiences than what you just said. I've been to developed cities and underdeveloped cities, and the first thing it does is make me appreciate what we have here in the States.
Yeah.
We are very extremely fortunate to have access to sporting equipment, to have access to accessibility throughout our daily lives. Maybe not as much as we would want to, but it's a lot better than in some of the other countries. And then the last thing it does is that it inspires me, because I think that through adaptive sports, we can teach the world what it truly is like to have a disability. If I can show people what I can do on the basketball court in a wheelchair in an underdeveloped country, then maybe they can see the value in investing resources into their communities for people with disabilities. And that's kind of the way that Team USA approaches everywhere we go. We use it as an opportunity to showcase not only our sport and the power of adaptive sports, but to showcase what it's like to live with this disability and hopefully leave long-lasting impressions for that community.
Can a wheelchair basketball player make a living playing basketball now?
There are a number of professional leagues over in Europe. That's where I traveled to and lived for 5 years after university. There are a number of sponsorship opportunities here in the States now, but it's nothing like our Olympic counterparts. So the Paralympics are still some places where we are underfunded, and maybe not as many resources are dumped into there as we would like. There are no professional leagues here in the States. It's just recreational. So a majority of our Team USA athletes have real jobs, right, and real lives outside of things, which really complicates things like training and making sure that you're staying on top of your game. But this is the life that we have, and we don't ever make excuses. We do the best we can, and we make it work. And I mean, that's what being a Paralympian or Olympian is all about, right? It's taking real world life hardships and turning them around into a positive environment on the field of play. And it's no different for Paralympians.
So how has it changed for you as, as an athlete who's been doing this for a long time now, right? Have you had to change your training with age? Not to say you're old, right? You're still a young guy, right? But you're looking at, you've been to Paralympics, 08, 12, 16, hopefully 21, right? You're not retired yet, right?
Yeah, yeah,
You're
no,
going for
not
21. Yeah. So how have you had to adapt to age in terms of your training, and also the equipment wise? How much of the chairs changed since you first got into this?
well. If you don't want to say it, I am very comfortable saying that I am the old guy on the team. Or one, so I'm totally comfortable with that. Like you said, this is going to be my fourth Paralympic Games if everything falls right. So I've been in the game for a while. The chair technologies have come so far since I started playing, just in terms of strapping, just in terms of the chair responding to you and your body and your movements. They've become lighter, they've become more durable, they've become faster as different materials are being used. So the chair technology is one of the things that has progressed our game over this decade that I've been on Team USA 100%. With that comes a little bit of an expense. The wheelchairs have definitely gotten a lot more expensive since I started playing as well, which is one of the barriers that stops a lot of kids from taking up wheelchair sports. So hopefully we can address that in the future. But for sure, the chair technology is a huge reason why the game has progressed so much in the last few years.
So in terms of guys, like you said, by 2016, a lot of the guys who were on the team from 2008 were still there. Now, are they still there? Are guys, you still have the same core group going for 2021?
We do have a lot of the same core group of guys.
Wow.
We've kind of all talked about how we kind of want to end it all together. The great thing about our sport is that we have a really strong collegiate system in this country. So the next crop of guys, the next generation is ready to take the mantle when this generation decides to retire. And I think a lot of us, this will be our last games. But we have people in the reserves for Paris and Tokyo, or Paris and LA when those games come around. So I think I have really high expectations for our sport moving forward, both on the men's and women's side. So it's an exciting time to be a wheelchair basketball athlete.
It is an exciting time. When you look back, obviously the Olympic gold is a pinnacle. Was there a moment that meant almost as much to you personally, like a game you had where you knew it might be the best game you ever had?
That's a good question. To be honest with you, I'm one of those unhealthy athletes that hates to lose more than they like to win. So a lot of my memories throughout my career are negative ones, except for maybe winning a gold medal in Rio. But I always tell people that even though I can't maybe recite a great game that I've had, those negative experiences or those losses that I've had are what propelled me to win a gold medal. No one ever talks about the loss that motivates you for the next year or two. No one ever talks about how, maybe a bronze medal finish is the thing that motivates you for the next 4 years. But it did for me. And, I can tell you that it relates to me having a disability. I know that adaptive sports have allowed me to filter my insecurities about my disability in a very positive way. And I think that by pushing myself to be the best person I can be, I think that has dealt with a lot of hardships, both personally and professionally, and it's the thing that has made me a successful athlete. So I always try to tell people, you can't have a truly positive experience without having some negative experiences as well. And don't let those negative experiences define you. Have them fuel you, and have them fuel you to become a better person, a better leader, and a better athlete.
So you are one of those guys who beats yourself up when you don't win. I can tell that.
100%.
Yeah. But at the same time, you also realize that when you're done with the game, here's 20 kids in wheelchairs who are looking to you with big smiles on their face going, you're paving the way for me. And so when you come off the court pissed that we just lost, and these kids are waiting for Steve Serio's autograph, I'm guessing you can flip the switch and become Steve Serio role model from Steve Serio, pissed that I just lost this game.
I can definitely make the switch because I know how impactful this game has been for me in my personal life. And I still remember the very first wheelchair basketball game that I ever saw in real life, and how I was just in awe of those athletes. And it wasn't even a Team USA. It was just like a local scrimmage of weekend warriors that are here on Long Island. And I just remember seeing them and seeing the game at that level for the first time, thinking like, oh my God, I had no idea people could do this in a wheelchair. And so when I come off the court, mad or happy, and I see those kids who are going through a similar experience that I went to, I always go over and I make a point to say thank you. I always make the point to make sure that they understand how awesome this game is, how impactful adaptive sports can be, and I just love seeing the kids there.
I love it. Okay, we're gonna move into some rapid fire.
Oh
Best
no, I'm ready.
best CAF memory.
Best CAF memory was going to the triathlon for the very first time. I didn't compete in it. I wasn't helping. I was just there as a spectator. And I left being more motivated about creating an adaptive sports community in my community here in Brooklyn and New York City than I've ever done before. It's the single thing I think about when I think about CAF is the power that triathlon holds.
And I'm sure you think back to you as a little kid being the only one in a wheelchair. And here you are at San Diego Triathlon Challenge, and there's wheelchairs everywhere. There's legs hanging out, and you're going, okay, these guys have people to hang with and bounce questions off of.
Yep, and it's people with disabilities, it's able bodies, all interacting for one greater good. And there's nothing better. It symbolizes the power of adaptive sports better than anything I've ever seen. And I was just so grateful to be there.
Now, also, I think I saw a video of you. Was it down at the Smoothie King Center? Was it down in New Orleans? How fun was that experience? Because I think you were there and Zion Williamson was there, and you were like surprising a young man with his wheelchair basketball chair.
Yeah. I've gone to that event a number of times now. And this time, it was, like you said, it was great to have Zion be there, because Zion is this larger than life athlete. And for him to embrace CAF, for him to embrace wheelchair basketball in his practice facility, and to take a couple minutes out of his day to experience it, to get in the chair himself and see what our world is like and how much fun that he actually had. It was a great moment. And it's something that a lot of NBA players love to experience. And hopefully we get a chance to do that event again, because it's great for us to highlight our skills to NBA players, but it's also great for the community. And like you said, for us to be able to give a chair to an aspiring athlete, there's just no greater feeling.
Okay, go to comfort food.
Pizza, New York pizza for sure.
Okay, you've coached at the Nike clinics, the CAF clinics over at Nike. What's that experience like, being on that campus and watching all these kids loving wheelchair basketball?
Yeah, being a part of the clinic at Nike, it's pretty rare to have such a positive environment where all these wheelchair basketball athletes can play and learn together all at once. To be honest, every time I go there, I just wish that we had more time to interact with the kids, because they're like sponges. They soak up all the knowledge, and we only have a little bit of time with them, but hopefully that we can give them drills and inspire them to keep working on their games when they go home. But just being at Nike headquarters, right, this all-inclusive global apparel brand and high-performance brand is incredible as a Team USA athlete. But when you throw in the kids and the positivity and just the encouragement that we can hopefully give them and teach them some drills along the way, it's a weekend I always look forward to.
What's your go-to technology? What technology do you rely on a daily basis?
I don't go anywhere without my iPhone, and I had to turn off a little notification that says, like, this is how much screen time you use per week, because it's depressing. But I travel with my iPhone everywhere. do
you use it for training at all?
Yeah, so we have a strength and conditioning app that we use throughout the USOPC. And it's a way that we can all, we as a team can interact as, there's workouts posted, we can make comments, we can send videos to motivate each other. It's like this all-inclusive platform that our strength and conditioning coach can interact with us, which has been very helpful during COVID. And we can kind of inspire each other through videos and workouts and interact in that way.
Favorite book or podcast?
So my favorite podcast is the Bill Simmons podcast.
Yeah, I've been listening to
Simmons, since he was at his ESPN days. And now that he's created that entire network of The Ringer, I love Bill Simmons' podcast. I love the Rewatchables, a lot of podcasts in that network.
Yeah, and actually Bill was instrumental in the start of the whole 30 for 30 series. He's
Yeah,
executive producer on all those films.
absolutely. And the fact that we can go back and he's a great storyteller, just like
Best.
the podcast. So it's no surprise that some of the best 30 for 30s out there are the ones that he was involved with.
Yeah. Favorite words to hear from a coach?
Favorite words to hear from a coach. I'm proud of you. Which
Least favorite.
what are you doing?
So what do you think when you look inside? What's made you successful? What's made you the person you are today?
I think the thing that's made me most successful is twofold. Number one is having the support of your friends and family and CAF community. I was fortunate enough to have parents that drove me to every single wheelchair basketball game that I wanted to. They never said no. They drove me to every single practice without question, and they supported me on my journey today. And even though I can't always see them every day like I used to be able to, they're just a phone call away. And anytime I'm struggling mentally or physically, they're the people I call. So I was very fortunate to have a supporting family network. But the last one, I think, the thing that's made me successful is the idea of growth. And, you know, as an athlete, like I touched on earlier, you're going to have losses. You're going to have these setbacks throughout your career. But it's what you do with those losses that ultimately determine what kind of athlete and what kind of person you're going to become. Everybody has to deal with hardships, but not everybody has the ability to use those hardships and filter them in a positive way. And as an athlete, I tell people that I've lost more than I've won in my career. But those losses are the thing that has led me and us to winning a gold medal in Rio. So don't shy away from those losses. Be able to take risks, be fearless, but always learn from them, always grow from them. And then when you look back on this incredible journey, you're going to be surprised at where you end up because of those hardships.
Were your parents able to be there in Rio when you won the gold?
So my dad has traveled to every Paralympics that I've competed in, and my mom, the only one that she came to was actually in Rio.
Oh,
And
how perfect is that?
it was extremely special to have them in the stands. I remember hearing the buzzer, and they were the first people that I looked up towards in the stands. My mom was a complete nervous wreck, and you know, we always joke around about, like, you know, why are you so nervous? You're sitting in the stands. Like, I'm the one who should be nervous. I'm on the court. But it was great to have them there. It's something that makes that moment so special to me and to my family. And I don't know about Tokyo. Tokyo is a long way from New York City, but I'm grateful for them to have been in Rio.
Hey, Steve, thanks for taking so much time, and thanks for being such a great representative of CAF. Appreciate everything you do to help make CAF great.
Thank you for allowing me to be a part of the CAF family. You guys are instrumental in reaching adaptive sports throughout the entire globe, and I'm just so happy to be a part of the family.
Steve Serio has been a guest again, Challenge Athletes Live. My name is Bob Babbitt. We'll catch you guys next time. See ya.
Thanks, guys.